The Fishing Paper Show is proudly brought to you by United Fisheries, bringing fresh fish to your plate.
The correct installation of your transducer is critical to ensuring a good picture when moving. To work correctly, the face of the transducer has to be in clean water. If there is any air in the water, this will disrupt the signal, either causing vertical lines down the screen or causing to lose the picture altogether. This is known as aeration. Commonly, these problems occur with transom-mounted transducers. There are a couple of things to be aware of when choosing the best position for your transducer. One is to ensure it's on the downside of the prop. This will make sure the dirty aerated water comes down over the top of the transducer rather than up underneath it. When choosing the location for your transducer, it needs to be as deep as possible. But you also need to be able to look down the length of the boat and see nothing that will cause aeration, such as rails. Even a small dent in your hull can cause you problems. Once you've chosen the position and are installing the transducer, it needs to be flat, with the bottom corner on the inside level with the incline of the hull. Not only does the transducer need to be flat along the width, it also needs to be flat along the length. You'll find if your transducer comes up, the aerated water will come underneath the face of the transducer. Most transducers are designed when level to send any aerated water over the top. If you find you're still having problems, you can tilt the transducer down a bit, but don't tilt it too far, as you'll find you'll get an inaccurate reading due to the beam being fired in front of you.
And one thing Mark Preston and I share in common, and that's a passion for fishing with children. I love, as you've seen, getting out with Daniel and Mark. I know you have children, and it's one of your great joys. What opportunities are there in Christchurch for families to get out amongst the trout and the fish?
Still plenty of opportunity, Crimpy. Sadly, we have had a loss of the lowland waters. Growing up in Canterbury, there was always Lake Victoria for me to go and fish and catch a carp, or a bike ride out to the Styx River, and the Avon used to be full of trout. Sadly, we've lost a little bit of that, but there's still plenty of opportunity. And
I went for a walk earlier on over the Avon, and I noticed where there used to be trout when I was there in the varsity days, there were cans and bottles and paper. It's a bit of a sad indictment.
It is a sad indictment on Canterbury, it really is. And even Fish and Game are a little bit confused about the real loss of the trout population to the upper Avon River, where we used to fish around Carlton Mill and those types of places.
Is it something we should be doing more of, encouraging parents to actually slow down and spend time with their kids and maybe put a rod in their hand, do you think?
You're right. I find it's absolutely wonderful, the precious time I have with my children. I just come back from a weekend at Lake Benmore with my daughter, and it's a wonderful time just to spend that time one-on-one catching fish. And it really doesn't matter what we're doing, but fishing is just a beautiful time with your own children. Absolutely.
What do you think kids get out of it?
They get an appreciation for the outdoors. I mean, we were sitting there the other day at the beautiful view of Mount Cook. I mean, I'm constantly reminding my daughter of the surroundings and the evenings, camped in the tent and the beautiful moonlight, and just an appreciation of the outdoors and nature in itself. These are the basics that a lot of parents miss the opportunity to install in the kids, and fishing is just a catalyst to know where to do that.
I know we were talking about Tony Entwistle. He was on the show last week, and we were discussing when we took our kids out fishing and how they have that urge from a young age, kill it, Dad, kill it, Dad, kill it, Dad. That's a kid thing, isn't it?
Sure it is, and there's no problem with that. A kid wants to kill it. I mean, my daughter on the weekend killed a couple, then she wanted to put the next one back, and that's great. But I leave that as her prerogative, And
well, it's all about learning too, isn't it? I mean, you've got to go through the whole process before you can actually come out the other end as a fisher person.
Too right. I mean, trout anglers particularly, they evolve. They go through that stage of wanting to catch lots of fish, and then that evolvement to wanting to catch bigger fish, and then finally they come out with really no desire to have to kill or even catch fish, which seems bizarre, but just enjoying the surroundings and time out there. Indeed.
All right, there are times though, as Mark touched on the subject, some of our rivers aren't that healthy. There are times when trout do need a little bit of help, and here's how Fish and Game effected a rescue on some trout recently.
New Zealand has a reputation for its natural unspoilt rivers and wild trout stocks, and Fish and Game work diligently to maintain this on behalf of licence holders. There are constant challenges to overcome, like the ongoing concerns Nelson Marlborough Fish and Game have over the impact of Trustpower's hydro scheme in the Branch River near Blenheim. Wild trout populations in the Branch and Leitham rivers are currently very low, and Fish and Game believe that fish passage has been restricted by the scheme. Part of the operation of the hydro scheme involves sluicing, or flushing gravel from a settling pond into a side race away from the main canal. During this procedure, any trout upstream from the sluice gates are swept downstream, and because trout will always turn to face the current, many will be stranded as the floodwaters rapidly recede. In recent times, Trustpower has given Fish and Game up to 24 hours notice of a sluicing operation. Little time to muster the troops to mount a rescue operation. However, Fish and Game field officers and volunteers waste little time getting to the scene where a well-practiced routine is put in place. Once trout are out of the water, there is only a small window of opportunity to effect a rescue, so the team act with urgency. Trout are netted and put into a holding box before being released further upstream or into the nearby canal that flows into Lake Argyll. No stone is left unturned, and even the murky pools are electric fished to make sure there are no overstayers. Since the turbines first turned in 1984, it is estimated that hundreds and possibly thousands of trout have perished during the flushing operations. But thanks to the persistence and the efforts of Fish and Game, the tide is starting to turn in the trout's favour.